Richard and Annabelle Subtle. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, sponsors and fellow competitors. Once we're done, it's all over. But thank you very much indeed for giving us the opportunity to talk to you tonight. We've got the team over there. The only people missing are John and Kirsten's kids. They're still at primary school though, but they are very much part of the team. And they would be here, Charlie especially would be here, but we don't want him here because he knows more about it than I do, and he'd be correcting me every day. So anyway, as you can see, we're a team operation, and Omarama Station, we're extremely fortunate. It's a very well-balanced property with a wide variety of class of country, and each of which has its part to play in our operation. We have recently completed 10-year review and have retained freehold of the whole property with the exception of a 120-hectare scientific reserve created for the protection of the native eels in conjunction with DOC and the local iwi. And that's probably one of the things we regard as one of our greatest achievements to date. When we took over in 2000, we've increased the stock units from around 11,000 then to about 22,000 stock units now. In terms of the animals, we're a merino-only operation, and we're very proud of that. We don't see the need to do half-breeds or anything like that. We fatten 10,000 culls per year at an average weight of 19.5 kgs per carcass. On the cattle front, we're a breeder finishing operation where we fatten about 700 culls per year, and there'll be more details about both those operations later.
Our milestones to date reflect our aim to build a sustainable platform for the future while also driving increased production, diversification and profit. We try to take the long-term view in our decision-making. We make a real effort to research the best value for money solutions, even if others confuse these for being expensive in the short term. This can mean moving away from traditional farming practices to pushing the boundaries. To do this, we use a variety of formal and informal advisors who are experts in their fields and whose advice we rely on. We also have a saying that there's no such thing as a silly question.
We try to balance the four philosophies that you see on the slide because we know it builds a profitable and sustainable future. These are a few of them, and there's too many to go through individually, but paranoia, and that is not a negative, is a key to our approach, whether it be about protecting our most inherent strengths or questioning our direction to date. One of our guiding principles is to collect as much reliable data as possible, thus we have built up a large amount of information. For example, water quality tests, moisture holding capacity data, soil test history, etc. And I think that was a point borne out by the Rudden Clause. You can't know enough about your farm, and that's something that we are very passionate about. Externally, we're involved in a variety of groups, from farm discussion groups to being a member of the local zone committee for the Land and Water Regional Plan. So the way we see it is, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. With regard to our sheep, since we've been at home, we've taken the production from a wool-dominated commodity base to a more mixed value, added value model.
With our wool, we have looked for long-term relationships. We are one of the first 5 properties to supply the initial grower contracts offered by Icebreaker about 17 years ago. Along with the contracts, we have been involved in hosting a range of people from Icebreaker from around the world, giving them the opportunity to see firsthand where the wool comes from and for us to get a small insight into their perspectives. We have been to China to see the Icebreaker production, which was hugely valuable to us. We also supply wool to an English company called John Smedley, who are at the high end of woolen garment production and have been in business for over 225 years. We were fortunate enough to join them in Derbyshire to celebrate this milestone. John Smedley was the inventor of the Long Johns, and they are one of a select group of companies to be issued with the Queen's warrant.
We were very instrumental in the development of the Solaire brand and encouraging New Zealand Merino to get involved with that. So we've worked very closely over time with SFF and NZM. We have hosted chefs from Asia and the Middle East, and there's one story. We had a guy from Hong Kong, a chef, and he was fluent. He knew 2 words of English, okay and perfect. And I took him out without the translator, and we went out and looked at some turnips and ryegrass in the middle of winter, and just really sort of to, I don't know, just to challenge him or whatever, I ate a turnip straight out of the ground, and next minute he's chewing away on them. And the kind of reaction we get when we have these visitors at home is like a light bulb going on. It's fantastic. On the less sexy side of things, we're big fans of technology, and we've invested a lot of time and energy into that. We're using EID with our breeding flock and EBVs on our sire selection. We are ruthless in only selecting from the top tier of proven rams. And the graph down the bottom there, we did the analysis. That's where we get our rams from on the Australasian graph in terms of benchmarking our rams. John is very, very instrumental in our blank slide. Go again. Okay, you're going to need to imagine stuff from now on, team, because there's some really good stuff coming up. Oh dear. We have classed our ewes into 3 different types, and so we break them into 3 different types. And because we can collect the data and actually measure their performance, for example, our royals, which are our best obviously, versus our heavies, there's 32% improvement at scanning time on those sheep compared to the heavies. And we've been able to build up a lifetime data about the productivity of the ewes, which has been hugely successful for us. There won't be any more slides. So there was a bell curve going to be up there, and it represented a comparison that was recently done by Mark Ferguson, and he gauged that our improvement over time, well, if we could shift all our ewes from heavies and average to royals, it would be an overnight $100,000 bottom line profit to us. We also use this information to identify the multiples and the early, mid, late scanning cycle. Then using the new legumes on the hill to provide quality lambing feed for these groups, and doing dry land, loose end development on the flats to provide high quality follow-up feed, increasing lactation in the ewes and rumen development in the lambs. In essence, the principle is to match the feed to the need.
With regard to our cattle operation, we have also been involved in a long-term relationship for the past 12 years with ANZCO and the Aleph Group. Uniquely in Japan, Aleph offer a grass-fed beef range in their restaurants. We are the only ultra-natural supplier, an aspirational brand that they want all their suppliers eventually to move to. This requires us to use RPR fertilisers on irrigated and naturally wet fattening blocks, and only to drench the cattle once in their lifetime, amongst other things. We believe that these types of relationships and innovations help to protect us from the wider market and commodity prices. Several years ago, when there was a BSE scare in Japan, the consumption of beef dropped by more than 90%, but because of Aleph's philosophies and traceability, their beef consumption only dropped by around 6%. We have visited the Aleph in Japan, which was a real eye-opener, and on the flip side, we have hosted them at Omarama Station several times.
Slide. Just imagine the next bit. So with regard, there's a picture up there of beautiful clover with a lot of bees in it. Firstly, for our hill legume, we have worked with the experts from Lincoln to identify and successfully use balancer clover as an effective and cost-efficient base legume to boost nitrogen on our hill blocks. Slide. On our irrigation, up until recently, we've been using a tall fescue mix with clover-based plantain and chicory, but following on from a trip to the North Island, we're now introducing plantain and clover mixes. John has measured improved daily weight gains of an extra 30 grams a day on lambs. Slide. On our irrigation, we've moved from border dikes to 560 hectares of gravity-fed pivots, supporting 24 stock units per hectare. Our nutrient budget shows only 11 kgs of N per hectare per year being lost to ground. This is a result of a strong focus on efficient nutrient usage. On the dry land, we're currently in the process of developing up to 700 hectares of dry land lucerne by going through a rye corn rotation over a 2 to 3 year period, increasing the carrying capacity from around 2 currently to 8 stock units per hectare. We've already completed 180 hectares. Our nutrient budget for the dry land is at about 3 kgs per hectare per year.
Slide. Tourism. We have also ventured into tourism and run a bed and breakfast operation based at the homestead. Recently, we restored the oldest building on the property as part of this. The stone hut has proven extremely popular due to its proximity to the Omarama stream with all its recreational attributes. It's also amazing the thought-provoking observation that many of our guests make. We also use the sharers' quarters for accommodation via Book a Batch. This is run by Kirsten, which gives her own business on the property.
Slide.
We have 2 hydro plants now operating on the station. The first hydro dam was built in the mid-1930s by my family when they purchased a second-hand turbine out of Manapuri for £1,000. 5 years ago, we upgraded with a new turbine and connected the system to the national grid so that we can now sell any excess power. The second hydro is an inline turbine at the end of our irrigation pipe, which we use when we're not irrigating. On average, both schemes can produce around 20 kilowatts per hour. The property uses about 6 kilowatts per hour, with the rest being sold.
Slide. There's a picture up there of a beautiful big pond that we've just finished building. It's a 12-hectare storage pond that will give us a 6-week buffer against restrictions on the outer area. And as we sit here, it's starting to drop, so we're looking forward to being able to use it soon. Our priorities listed on the slide are overseen by a governance grouping derived from a wide range of leading external experts. A principle that guides all our decision-making is that any change has to add value to our long-term aspirations. Slide. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to any questions. In the meantime, we have a few more images, which we hope will play in the background. And if anybody, except for the people on that table, voted for our presentation, then I think you must be mad. But we would very much appreciate any questions, and one of the reasons we enjoy this sort of thing is to be challenged, so please step into it.
Hey, first of all, I really wanted to congratulate you on your presentation. I really enjoyed it, and thank you very much for the insights you gave us here tonight. Again, I'm one of the Kellogg scholars here today, and I just a couple of hours ago I just presented actually on EID within the velvet industry. So I really wanted to ask you what benefits are you guys getting from utilising it within your sheep? It's something that obviously you've proactively done, and have you quantified those at all?
Yeah, so that slide that wasn't there about the 30% improvement. I mean, when we scan and we can prove, I think the second generation of scanning we did, our 4-tooth merino ewes that had been a twin bearing ewe in the year before, they scanned 171%. So in merinos, that's almost off the graph sort of thing. But the point is, in the past, those sheep have always been there. They just haven't been recognised. So now we can build up lifetime data, and we can select and promote those ewes and that type. And we thought we knew that type was the productive type of sheep, but now we absolutely positively do. And I mean, the tools are endless. If it comes to a drought and we need to cull, or with the older ewes or whatever, you know, we know exactly which ones are giving us the bang for the buck. And I hear people sort of say that, oh, it's expensive technology. It's as cheap as chips. And we've deliberately started just by focusing on fertility, but once we've got that nailed down, we didn't want to attack too many things. Once we've got that nailed down, we'll start to move on to other things. I hope that's answered your question, but yeah, I believe that the opportunity is limitless.
I'm just really interested, have you done any kind of number crunching on the payback time for your investment in your turbine?
Yep. So we've got 2 turbines. One is on the end of the irrigation pipe. So we've got 7 kilometres of pipe underwater feeding the pivots. And that was just a clip-on. So that was 35 grand. It's pretty easy. Then we spent about another 70 grand on upgrading all the internal power distribution for the whole station. And then we spent another 100 grand on the new turbine that was, I think, in one of those photos there, and earthworks and all that sort of thing. And so 200 grand, and we're getting $20,000 a year revenue, plus everybody on the station gets subsidised power, plus we get free power in our house. So, I mean, yeah, it seems right to me. 10% return on investment seems okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richard and Annabelle Subtil.